Hi, it's Katrina. Number 10. Dunnottar Castle. Dunnottar Castle is a great mysterious fortress stationed on the edge of a Scottish cliff overlooking the North Sea. It's a stunning sight to behold, with the ruined walls on the edge of a precipice that appears to border the edge of existence. The sea stretches out for untold miles beyond, while the broken castle stands like some forgotten lighthouse on the bluff. In truth, Dunnottar Castle is a medieval ruin that covers about 3.5 acres of land, with its outer walls on the edge of the cliff. The water is a 160-foot drop below. The castle is about 2 miles from the small town of Stonehaven, although the earliest record of any settlement in the area comes from the 5th century. A church was originally constructed high up on the cliffs, but nobody knows the precise date when. There are only 2 mentions of Dunnottar Castle in ancient history. A manuscript from medieval Ireland describes military assaults that occurred in 681 and 694 AD. The castle was constructed sometime before this, but how long it stood before it was attacked and burned is unknown. The castle did survive into more modern history, being improved upon in the 14th century and occupied by the most powerful families of Scotland. But by the 17th century, neglect had started to take hold, and by the 18th century, the castle was an abandoned ruin. Number 9. The Bayers Lake Walls. There is a rather strange place in the Canadian province of Nova Scotia called the Bayers Lake Walls. There are plenty of local stories about this mysterious ruin, but nobody knows its origins. Archaeologists have been confused by the 5-sided stone structure for decades, ever since it was discovered. The very old walls are sandwiched in a tiny piece of forest between a busy highway in Halifax and a shopping center. These crumbling stone walls could have something to do with the Knights Templar. If you're not familiar with the province of Nova Scotia, I'll tell you. It's a small place with only around 1 million residents, situated across the border of Maine, but its history is very old. The Vikings landed near Nova Scotia on the island of Newfoundland about 1,000 years ago, and some believe the Knights Templar came here as well to bury treasure. There is a place called Oak Island. Perhaps you've heard of it? It has a bizarre pit where researchers have uncovered artifacts dating back to medieval Europe. Maybe the Knights Templar brought their treasure and hid it here as they were escaping persecution. But there's no solid explanation as to how they got here. For these reasons, you can see how a ruin with unknown origins could be intriguing. Similar structures have been found in the United Kingdom on the other side of the world. The Native Americans who lived on this land never built anything like it, so it couldn't have been from them. Number 8. El Pocito. El Pocito is an archaeological site in the Dominican Republic. To better understand its mysteries, we need to take a look back at the island's history. It has a history that goes back centuries, even thousands of years. Columbus arrived on Hispaniola in the 15th century and was met by the Arawakan-speaking people, the true inhabitants of the Dominican Republic. Scientists agree they probably migrated to the island from Venezuela about 2,400 years ago. These were the true archaic people of the island, who used stone tools and lived in relative peace and harmony until the Europeans came. El Pocito is an ancient settlement that once belonged to the first settlers of Hispaniola. All that remains of it today is a square of lush vegetation, what looks like a great spot to have a picnic. But in 2021, a team of researchers from the Sapienza University of Rome dug deep underneath the surface and discovered a hoard of treasures. Archaeological treasures, that is. They found stone hammers, axes, tools used for making canoes and oars, and a tiny ceremonial well that may have been used in macabre island rituals. This is the first site of its kind to be found in the Dominican Republic. It proves that underneath the shade of the palm trees and hidden under the foundations of 5-star resorts, there is a whole mess of archaeological evidence of an ancient race of people. Number 7. Tintagel Castle. Tintagel Castle is another strange European fortress with a long and dark history. The earliest traces of human occupation here go back to the days of the Roman occupation of Britain, about 2,000 years ago. But even those traces are scarce. Archaeologists have only found a handful of coins, a few pottery scraps, and the ruins of unknown Roman structures. But here's a quick piece of history. When the Roman government in Britain collapsed 1,600 years ago, the land was split into different factions. The area we know as Cornwall today emerged as the Kingdom of Dumnonia. In the ashes of the Roman Empire, this kingdom came out surprisingly strong. They developed a massive stronghold at Tintagel that also functioned as a major trade center. Archaeologists have suggested Tintagel Castle was an elite settlement ruled over by a very powerful warlord and only home to the best of the best. This is based on some evidence like high-status items imported from as far away as Africa. This is significant because it means the castle was connected to a vast trade network during what we know as the Dark Ages. While everyone else was running around in darkness and chaos, the residents of Tintagel Castle were living in luxury. But the true history of the castle is hidden in obscure shadows. Rumors of it began circulating in 1138, after it became connected to the tale of King Arthur. Arthur supposedly seduced Queen Igerna in the castle's very halls, usurping the old king and becoming ruler of all the land. Number 6. Chapel in the Woods. There is a mysterious chapel in the English countryside where teenagers go to drink illegally and get up to all kinds of shenanigans. On the outside, it looks like any other abandoned building in England. It's made of stone, there is moss growing on the roof, and it's hard to tell if it's 1,000 years old or 50 years old. To make matters worse, nobody knows how old it is. People drive past it every single day since it's just off to the side of one of the busiest roads in Devon. But how long it's been sitting there and who built it in the first place has been forgotten for centuries. Not only do we not know who built the church, but we don't know what it was used for. It could have been a Catholic church, or it may have been used for pagan worship. It also may not have been a church at all, but the isolated hideout for a hermit. What do you think this creepy abandoned building was used for? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Number 5. The ancient city of the Berbers. Volubilis is the ancient and mystical city of the Berber. Most historians agree it was probably the capital of the lost kingdom of Mauretania. It's located in modern-day Morocco, situated at the foot of the Great Zerhone Mountain and on a ridge overlooking the valley of Kumane. This place is ancient. The earliest occupation here goes back to the Neolithic period, or about 5,000 years ago. This has been confirmed by the discovery of ancient Neolithic pottery. But after 3,000 years as a small settlement, the place exploded in the 3rd century B.C. The Carthaginians moved in, they constructed a great temple to the god Baal, and the whole place became prosperous. That prosperity ended with the fall of Carthage when they were defeated at the end of the Third Punic War in 146 B.C. After the destruction of Carthage, the kingdom of Mauretania rose in its place. They dominated much of northern Africa, all the way from Algeria to the Atlantic Ocean. The kingdom worked with the Roman Republic instead of fighting against it, and one of Volubilis' kings even married Cleopatra Selene II of Egypt. But with the fall of Rome came the end of Mauretania. The great city of Volubilis was abandoned, but not right away. The strangest thing about it is that the city gradually shifted from being a prosperous capital to a cemetery. People continued to live here in very small numbers up until the 14th century while filling the city with the bodies of the dead. Number 4. Mystery Tomb in Scotland. A very mysterious building from the Stone Age was recently discovered in Scotland at Ness of Brodgar in Orkney. Researchers came across it while they were excavating a garbage dump from about 5,000 years ago. Nobody expected to come across an actual structure. If you're not familiar with the Orkney Islands in Scotland, it's one of the most incredible places in the world. For prehistoric people, the Orkney Islands were quite literally the end of the world. There was nothing beyond them except the ocean all the way to North America, though nobody knew that back then. So as far as they were concerned, the world simply ended. And that could be why there are so many mysterious places here. This newly discovered structure was found very close to the Ring of Brodgar, an ancient ring of standing stones that were built for unknown reasons. The structure is either some kind of building or a chambered tomb. Archaeologists can't agree, although they did find a human arm bone. Number 3. The haunted Kiyotaki Tunnel. The Kiyotaki Tunnel in Kyoto is known for being one of the most haunted and mysterious places in all of Japan. It's not quite as ancient as the other locations I told you about, but it certainly deserves a mention. The tunnel was originally built as part of the Atagoyama Railway between 1927 and 1928. It's no more than 1,500 feet long, connecting northern Arashiyama to the small town of Saga Kiyotaki. But this seemingly ordinary tunnel has a long and drenched history of violence. First of all, it was built by slaves, and a lot of these slaves either died in horrifying accidents or were executed. It's said the tunnel remains haunted to this day by the spirits of those forced to make it. People who drive through the tunnel have reported seeing ghostly shades in their rearview mirrors. Traffic signals supposedly change suddenly from red to green at night to cause accidents. Some say they can hear women screaming in agony from the nearby forest. Others experience sudden fatigue, extreme headaches, and even nausea or dizziness. While we can't say scientifically that the tunnel is haunted, it's certainly one of the spookiest places in Japan. Number 2. Kefalonia Island. Kefalonia Island in Greece is a place of wild nature, breathtaking landscapes, and curious natural phenomena. The history of the island is ancient. It used to be called Cephalonia in antiquity and was first occupied over 2,000 years ago. Some even believe the island was the legendary birthplace of Odysseus, the city of Ithaca, which Homer described in his great work, the Odyssey. The island became a Roman province in the Middle Ages, then later an important base for the Byzantine Empire. It was here where the Byzantine soldiers blocked Muslim raids moving into the Adriatic Sea. It was a key strategic point in the countless battles between the Muslims and the Christians during the medieval days, and was finally captured and conquered by the Ottoman Empire in 1479. But like in so many places in Europe, the rulers changed frequently. It was ruled over by the Venetians, Venice was conquered by France in 1797, the French were defeated by the Russian and Turkish fleet, and by 1809 the British had a hold of it. It's a modern tourist destination now, and you might say the mysterious Kefalonia Island has come a long way from the days of Homer and the myths of Ithaca. Number 1. The Temple of the Moon. The Temple of the Moon was once the religious epicenter of the Moche culture in Peru. It's not to be confused with the cave Temple of the Moon at Machu Picchu. This one was created in the north, built sometime between the 1st and 8th centuries AD out of millions of adobe blocks. It stands in the capital city of Moche. These people built great settlements all along the hot and dry coastline, all the way from the Lambayeque River Valley to the Nepean River Valley, a distance of about 215 miles. There are 2 megalithic temples here, the Temple of the Sun and the Temple of the Moon. They are both enormous stepped pyramids over 130 feet tall. There were rooms at the top where archaeologists believe kingly priests lived and presided over communal rituals. The big mystery with these temples is that nobody knows what kind of worship went on here. Even though they take the names of the sun and the moon, there is no evidence they were ever dedicated to celestial bodies. Archaeologists don't have much information on the beliefs and religion of the Moche society. Sure, they left behind dozens of settlements, huge temples, and once lived in the biggest city in South America, but they had no system of writing. They didn't write any of their traditions down, and archaeologists have nothing to go on except faded paintings and mysterious artifacts. We know these people were skilled metalworkers, and we know based on archaeological evidence that they practiced human sacrifice, and possibly the ritual consumption of blood. They made goods, pottery, and completed huge sculptures. Many of their artifacts were sculpted in the forms of animals, plants, and what appear to be demonic beings. But why they killed people and drank their blood, and what exactly was going on in their dual temples, is a mystery that hopefully will be solved. Thanks for watching! If you had to choose just one of these mysterious places to visit, which would you pick? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye!